ATOME is the first and only industrial-scale green hydrogen, ammonia and fertilizer production company listed on the London Stock Exchange. We have a project pipeline of over 600 megawatt and operating entities in Latin America and Europe. Our first project will be the 120 megawatt Villeta project, the largest green ammonia to fertilizer facility of its kind in Latin America. Our aim is to be the world's first supplier of large-scale, zero-carbon green fertilizer. We have acquired a 70-acre site. We are going through and almost finalizing the engineering and design with all of the environmental, social and market studies done. With the backing of the government, we have also secured tax-free zone status, and we have the support of the Inter-American Development Bank as they continue to support us through the environment and social impact assessment studies, as well as helping us put the financing together. We have also seen a significant interest from the off-takers for our green calcium ammonium nitrate. So we are moving at great pace to make this a reality, with 145 megawatt of immediately available, low-cost, baseload renewable electricity secured. It will be producing 250,000 tons of calcium ammonium nitrate per year. It will displace over 500,000 tons of carbon a year, creating hundreds of sustainable long-term jobs and having significant development impact not only in Paraguay, but to the entire agricultural ecosystem in the region. From our perspective, this is where we can play a real role, not only about increasing the supply of fertilizer, but green decarbonized fertilizers, as the agricultural and land use sector is responsible for nearly 30% of all global carbon emissions. This is massive. It's about feeding and saving the planet and creating thousands of jobs in places where we can actually make a difference. So we continue to be busy. Unlike a number of other companies, we don't want to talk about MOUs. We want to discuss real projects that we can deliver in a very short timeline. To see what we have achieved since the IPO, considering the size of the company, it's quite amazing. And the fact that there are still no other companies like us listed on the London Stock Exchange focused on the development of green ammonia is kind of telling that it's not easy. ATOME was created with a realization that you cannot electrify the world. You will still need molecules. And if you can have green molecules, you are able to decarbonize the hard-to-abate sector. We're talking shipping, agriculture, chemical, power, maybe aviation. But also this is where that vision meets the hard industrial reality. So when we looked at the potential of a hydrogen economy, we looked at all of these possibilities where hydrogen could be part of that solution of providing that green molecule. You always go back to fundamental principles, which is, am I competitive? It's great to be zero carbon and displace hydrogen based from natural gas, from coal. But if you are so much more expensive, you are never going to find a market. And hydrogen to ammonia to fertilizer for us was the absolute logical step, the absolute logical market we wanted to go after, because this is the market for hydrogen today. The market for hydrogen tomorrow, great. We're going to have maybe aviation fuel. We're going to have cars. We're going to have trucks. What can we do today? Agriculture. And this is what ATOME is doing. We want to deliver something which can make profit today, and on top of that, put profit and planet together. We have a saying within ATOME. It's that vision without execution is hallucination. From the inception of a company, we looked at putting a very strong complementary management team. It's about having people who worked in the energy sector, in the financing sector, in the fertilizer sector. Our chairman, Peter Levine, has a proven track record in the energy sector of creating, developing and exiting companies. Jim Spalding, who leads our Paraguay team, has significant experience both in government and the power sector in Paraguay. Marie-Rose Valadares has a wealth of experience in the hydrogen sector. And Terry Backen, who has recently joined us, has worked in the fertilizer market for over 30 years with some of the leading international players. Each one of us individually have a track record of delivering, but you put us together, we will be able to deliver a project which looks very novel in a way, but actually leverages what is already existing, an existing hydrogen sector, an existing ammonia sector, an existing fertilizer sector. The reality is, today the fertilizer business is over $200 billion a year. This is about feeding billions of people in a world that needs more fertilizer supply to increase food supply. And at the same time, we want to green the agricultural sector, help decarbonize it, and in a sector that actually creates more emissions than aviation and shipping combined. So if anything, over the past few years, we have learned how interlinked energy and food security are. And what happens in Eastern Europe has really highlighted the issue. We have to remember that actually 30% of all ammonia is made between Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. And this is absolutely key because half of the world's fertilizers come from hydrocarbon. We have experienced dramatic disruption. Farmers had to pay 4 to 5 times more for fertilizer than they ever did. Everybody has seen their food basket prices increase in consequence. So from ATOME's perspective, it's about playing a key role in one of the fastest growing commodities today and over the next decade. Our mission is clear: energy security, food security, decarbonization, and having an impact on a global scale as well as a strong domestic impact, whilst actually having profitable projects. How do we achieve this? By working in countries which have the right type of power, renewable power, with the right people, and in a space where you have the right demand for what we are producing.
Paraguay is located in the heart of South America. We're a landlocked country bordered by Argentina, Brazil, and Bolivia. We are also a founding member of the Mercosur Free Trade Zone, which incorporates Paraguay, Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay. And as a Mercosur member, we enjoy free trade and low taxes for our commerce within these countries. Paraguay's main exports are in the agricultural sector. We're the 4th largest exporter of soybean, but our grain production has increased and we're looking at about 10 million tons per year. And we use Paraguay-Paraná waterway. So Paraguay counts on Itaipu and Yacyretá, the 2 very important hydroelectric dams. Paraguay's electricity grid is 100% clean and green, renewable energy. Itaipu Dam is 14,000 megawatts. It's the 2nd largest dam in the world. And currently Paraguay demands about 30% of its half from the current production. Paraguay, at the same time, is a country that's open to investment, both national and foreign. It's open to business and looks forward to trade, to commerce, both with its neighbors and with the world. We have received very good support from the current administration of the government. And as Paraguay recently held its national elections, we have a president-elect who will assume power on the 15th of August for a 5-year term. And we have already seen his support in our project. Our current investment is focused on a 120 megawatt facility located in Villeta, which is about 30 kilometers south of Asunción. This land, which we've already purchased, about 75 acres, is located very near to the Paraguay River, which is a major transit point for commerce coming in and out of Paraguay. And the 120 megawatts, it's important to mention that this is firm baseload 24/7 existing green and renewable power coming from the hydroelectric dams, so we have no need to reduce or modulate our production at this time.
As we were advancing the Villeta project and understanding better the engineering and design and the logistical studies, we realized that going further downstream than just ammonia and producing calcium ammonium nitrate, CAN, made the most sense, because this is what the market wants and needs and is ready to pay for today. A low carbon fertilizer and actually a zero carbon fertilizer. There was also a significant logistical advantage and therefore a significant economic advantage for us to go downstream and to supply CAN, in green CAN, into the Mercosur region. So whilst Europe is the largest market for CAN, Mercosur is the world's 2nd largest. So from our point of view, it was about having domestic supply, meeting domestic demand. So the process of making green fertilizer is actually relatively simple and has been existing for over 100 years. You start with water, H2O, then you pass it through an electrolyzer, which using electrical current separates the H, the hydrogen, and the O, the oxygen. Once you have your hydrogen, you then compress it, and you add to it nitrogen. How do you get nitrogen? You took an air separation unit, the ASU, which strips the nitrogen from the air. Then, through the Haber-Bosch process, another 100-year-old process, you combine the hydrogen and the nitrogen together. That creates ammonia. Once you have ammonia, you then pass it through the nitric acid unit, which further concentrates nitrogen and ammonia and create ammonium nitrate solution. Once you have that ANS, you then mix it with either limestone or dolomite, which has been crushed, to create CAN, calcium ammonium nitrate. So you have added the calcium, the dolomite, the limestone, to the ANS, and this is how you go from a very simple chemical process from H2O to CAN.
The big challenge that the food industry is facing is really to produce more with less and in a sustainable way. So it's really about agricultural efficiency. How you could grow better crop with less input factors. Fertilizers, it's really about nutrient use efficiency. So you need better products, you need better fertilizers, but you also need better processes. So better processes and better products will bring more sustainable agriculture. With the need for more biomass to be produced, with less input factors, where the input factors also bring more greenhouse gas emissions, is not sustainable. And with changing the processes like ATOME does, producing ammonia and calcium ammonium nitrate without having any greenhouse gas emissions is one requirement, is a needed requirement. At home, we talk with the food industry, and whether it is the fruit and vegetable growers, the canola growers, they know that their brands for the products in the future will show what is the carbon footprint of this particular oil. When you could see that one oil or one banana has lower footprint than the other, the consumers will choose the more sustainable way. So it's going to be a combination of demand pull from consumers, and of course the regulators also need to do something, so we need to change regulations. So green sustainable initiatives that ATOME has will then have advantages to meet the shelves of the food shops as soon as possible. Green calcium ammonium nitrate has two characteristics. It's green, it's sustainable, it's produced in a sustainable way without having greenhouse gas emission. The other part of calcium ammonium nitrate is it's a more efficient fertilizer, because when you have nitrate nitrogen instead of ammonium nitrogen, it can be absorbed directly by the plant. Because we are in the middle of the food basket in the world, nitrogen fertilizer is the most important nutrient there is in agriculture. In terms of ammonia tons, 120 million tons consumed every year. For calcium ammonium nitrate, which is more a specialty fertilizer used a lot for fruit and vegetables, where quality also is important. Now, ammonia for fertilizers is obviously today the largest segment. We like to focus where agriculture is having potential, like in South America, like in Paraguay, Brazil, Argentina. Paraguay itself has a lot of new crops coming, a few of them here. Chia is a new superfood that is being produced or grown sustainably in Paraguay. And we think for us to have the first project to be robust, practical, and to support the farmer and to support the food industry is going to be a very practical, good step to show that sustainable fertilizers, sustainable nitrogen can come, and serve a segment right away.
In parallel to this, from a corporate point of view, we have now signed a pre-power purchase agreement for a further 300 megawatt of power with Iguazu. We continue to work on our mobility project. In Iceland, we are looking at up to 60 megawatt of green ammonia project in order to supply the shipping sector. And most recently in Costa Rica, with the formation of a national ammonia corporation, we are looking to mature another 100 megawatt of project in the region. So we have seen the hydrogen economy move extremely quickly, from venture capital for electrolyzer technology in a lab, to demos, and now industrialization. So we've seen massive amounts of money being allocated towards this hydrogen economy, whether it's the large infrastructure type of funds or the World Bank support. And now we've even seen the Inflation Reduction Act in the US providing nearly $1 trillion of capital. In Europe, we are talking about €500 billion of capital just to support the growth of the hydrogen economy. And yet, with all of that money, only about 10% of projects that are being discussed are remotely close to reaching financial investment decision. And this is where ATOME differentiates itself. And we will be one of the projects, one of the low 10% who will reach FID this year. As a proof, we are still trading significantly above our IPO price when the entire hydrogen market has been completely in the doldrums. So we have seen investors like Schroders increase their participation into ATOME. And most recently, we have announced Baker Hughes, one of the largest energy engineering firms in the world, take more than a 6% participation in ATOME because they know that our projects are going to achieve final investment decision this year. Getting to FID on Villeta is the most important thing on ATOME's list today. It means finishing front-end engineering and design, finishing the environmental and social impact assessment, the ESIA, and of course now the tax-free zone status is approved subject only to the ESIA. Obviously discussing with a number of project partners in order to get to the EPC number, securing the long-term offtake agreement, and with the help of Natixis and the Inter-American Development Bank, putting together the successful project financing for the development of Villeta that will get us to FID by the end of the year. Then, following FID, about 1.5 years of construction in order to start commissioning by the end of 2025 so that we can have full production in 2026. So we are very fortunate to have put together a fantastic team to push the story of green ammonia and delivery of green fertilizer. So are we complacent? Never. Right? That's the reality. We continue pushing, we continue adapting, and as I mentioned earlier, we didn't originally think that we would go all the way down to green fertilizer, but it made the absolute most sense for the demand side, for the return side, for the development impact that we could have. So it is this ability to adapt, react, take decisions very quickly, which enables us to be quite different in a world of billion-dollar infrastructure projects. So we will continue to over-deliver. We will continue to work harder than what is reasonable, and we will continue to achieve more than what anybody else is able to achieve.